If I asked you to imagine what the most prolific sniper of World War II was, you'd probably think of maybe a left-handed Tennessee boy who used the 1903. Man, that's a really pretty optic on that. But maybe you'd think it was a Bavarian soldier who learned how to hunt wolves in the Black Forest using a K98. But in both cases, you'd be wrong. Not only did he not use a Mauser action, which is a fantastic action, he didn't even have magnified optics. No, we're talking about iron sights on a Mosin Nagant. That's right, Simu Haya. Let's talk about the White Death. Hey everybody, welcome back to Classic Firearms. I'm Matt, and today we're going to take another little stroll down memory lane, look at the history of some things, specifically the deadliest sniper of World War II. That's right, the White Death himself, Simu Haya. Now guys, there are going to be some Finnish words in this. I'm not sure I'm going to pronounce any of them correctly, but just bear with me, I'm going to do my best. So Simu Haya was born in 1905 to some farmers. He lived in a rural area, and he was actually the seventh of 8 children, so almost the youngest there. And he grew up on the farm and doing hunting, things of that nature, out in a rural area. And these kind of skills would serve him very well later in life. He was joining the Civil Guard at the age of 17, which is kind of his first taste of military-style service. Now, technically, the Civil Guard is a domestic defense force, not the formal Finnish military, but it did serve him well. He was issued a rifle. In fact, this is the type of rifle he would have been issued. So this is an M2830 version of the Finnish Mosin Nagant, chambered in 7.62 by 54R, although the Finns do denote that as 53R. There's not really a difference in the caliber, but that's how the Finnish denoted the chambering for the rifle. Rifles that the Finns used were kind of interesting because all of the receivers were actually purchased from Russia. So you can see this has a old hex-style Russian-made receiver. It is marked Sky and by Seiko because they were assembled in Finland. Finland made their own barrels, their own stocks. They really tried to elevate the Mosin Nagant to be the best service rifle they could. But otherwise it is basically a fairly typical Mosin Nagant action. So it's fed by 5-round stripper clip into this internal magazine. And so that really makes what Simu Haya was able to accomplish that much more impressive when you consider that this is the style of rifle that he was using. So again, joined the Civil Guard at 17. He was actually conscripted into the Finnish military at the age of 19, where he would join a bicycle battalion. I think it's kind of interesting to look at the types of soldiers back in World War II, things like bicycle battalions. There were certain countries that would still have cavalry, like with horses. So it's not something that we would necessarily really think about. Ski troops, things that we don't typically find a lot of in the American military. But so he was actually a bicycle soldier. Now, he did go to non-commissioned officer school. So he served as a non-commissioned officer as well as a representative to shooting competitions for his unit, where he won several trophies, which again just will demonstrate the skills that he would later put to devastating effect during the Winter War, which is kind of the conflict during World War II between Finland and Russia. So, again, pretty young guy, at 19 years of age, joined the military. He would eventually receive standardized, formal sniper training 1 year before his participation in the war. So in 1938, he'd go to that training. And then in 1939, specifically November of 1939 through March of the next year, so just about 100-day service, he would rack up a super impressive 500 plus kills. Now, the exact number is hard to really pin down because different people gave him credit for a different number of kills. So his division commanding officer had him at about 219 rifle kills, with a similar amount in the Suomi KP-31 submachine gun. The KP submachine gun, KP-31, is a really cool machine gun. It's chambered in 9mm. It looks somewhat similar to the Russian PPSH-43, so wood stock, drum mag, and he was, Simu Haya was known to use the submachine gun in closer combat, especially as part of, the group of soldiers he was in. So if he was a squad leader and they were going in for a closer up combat, that was the firearm that he would use. And it seems like everybody gave him credit for about the same number of kills with the submachine gun as with his rifle. Conversely, his unit's chaplain gave him credit for 259 kills with the rifle, and again, about the same with the submachine gun. So pinning down the exact number of enemy he was responsible for is a little difficult, given the fact that you're relying on his own reporting as well as that of other soldiers there that were participating, and if they could recover a body or not. But yeah, so during that 100-day period, he averaged about 5 enemies killed per day, although he did have his most prolific day where he killed about 25 enemy combatants in December 21st of 1939. So that is quite an accomplishment, especially when you consider the fact he was using iron sights on a bolt-action rifle. Now, you might think that as a sniper, he would use, some form of magnified optic, something like the World War II equivalent to this optic here. But actually, Shimahaya specifically did not like the use of magnified optics. He felt that because the optic had to be mounted above the rifle, it caused the shooter to have a higher profile that could be more easily glimpsed, as well as the fact that given the just brutal conditions of winter in Finland, where things were down to -4 to -40 degrees Fahrenheit, that you have issues where the glass on a scope can fog up, or even become damaged. Just using iron sights eliminated those issues. And he was pretty famous for his preparation, where he would actually establish a shooting position before dawn, and he would stay there all day until after sunset, so that he would give the least amount of chance for anybody to see him trying to change positions as possible. He is also known to say that you shouldn't take a shot from 100 yards, that you could take from 300 yards. Again, just the idea that distance is a sniper's friend. If they don't know where you're shooting from, they can't retaliate. But yeah, so again, when you think about kind of the tools he had to use, the fact that he was able to accomplish what he did in such a short period of time is just absolutely amazing. I think another thing that really adds to his ability, but also how impressive it is he was not really a physically imposing man. So Shimahaya was only about 5'3", making him a short king for sure. But when you think about someone who's a successful, scary, soldier, you think of someone like Kaya maybe, right? Like 6 foot, jacked. Shimahaya was actually a fairly slight built man, again pretty short, but he was able to use that to his advantage because, being of a compact frame, shall we say, he was able to establish those shooting positions in areas that maybe a larger person would not, and he was able to keep a lower profile to prevent enemies from spotting him. Now, he was injured March 6th of 1940. He was shot, and it actually hit him in the face, so he lost basically his whole left side lower jaw, part of the upper jaw, and he was actually believed to be dead. So his body was found by the Red Army, Soviets, and they thought that he was a casualty. They put him on a mound of other dead soldiers. He was able to be successfully later recovered by the Finns, who were able to take him to the hospital, where he would basically wait out the rest of the war in convalescence. So yeah, he did express some desire to join in the continuation war, which kind of is a, what they call the conflict at the end of World War II there in Finland. But unfortunately, he was not able to regain his health and be able to participate in that. He did, however, live to a ripe old age, so he did not die until 2002. So for the rest of his life, he went back to kind of where he started. He went back to farming as well as hunting. So he was known to be a moose hunter as well as a dog breeder. And he was even able to host one of the presidents of Finland on a hunt on his property. So, because of his long military service, obviously he received a lot of recognition, but he himself was very soft-spoken and did not like to share his memories of the war. But shortly, about a month after he was injured, while he was still in hospital, he did write a memoir, which was only much, much later discovered, and which he describes as his catalog of sins. So he definitely, took upon himself the burden that he said, this was expected of me, this was a required military service for my country, and he did it to the best of his ability, but he did think of what he did as having kind of a moral weight that he would have to bear for the rest of his life. And of course, he had the physical scars and deformity in his face that he would have to contend with for the rest of his life. Again, due to the military recognition, he did receive several awards, including a first and second degree Medal of Liberty, as well as third and fourth degree Crosses of Liberty, which is an award normally reserved only for commissioned military officers. And after the war, he received an honorary promotion from a non-commissioned rank to a commissioned rank. So effectively, from what we would consider to be kind of a sergeant to a lieutenant. So that was, something that he was able to receive due to the extreme nature of his military service. Again, guys, I just can't imagine going to war in such horrible conditions with a tool that's as crude as this bolt-action rifle. And, he really did it with a lot of success. All right, guys. Well, I really appreciate you walking down memory lane with me here. I think the history of, especially some of these specific soldiers in military history are really interesting. Just the determination and grit that they demonstrate to do what they did. If there's any other topics you'd like us to cover, whether that be historical or otherwise, make sure you leave a comment down below. I know that, these little history lessons aren't necessarily everybody's cup of tea, but I think there are some of you out there who really enjoy it. So definitely let us know what you would like us to cover in the future. If there's any other, specific people you'd like us to tell their story. But yeah, guys, I think that's about it for today. Again, we appreciate you coming down to Classic Firearms. Until next time, God bless, and we'll see you then.